I about got that introduction, laddie. Y'all give it up for the pastor.
Sorry. You know what happens when you start preaching Romans is that you get to have theological discussions in the hallway right before the service starts. So it's awesome. So glad you guys are here. Welcome to Bainbridge Church, where the pastor is late a lot of times. So we are so glad you guys are here. Let me tell you a little bit about our church. So if you haven't already picked up on the fact, we're a bunch of broken people who can show other broken people where to find the guy who fixes things. Okay, that's what we do around here. Island of misfit toys, doesn't matter. We are just people who love Jesus and want everyone to love Jesus. And it doesn't matter where you're at in your faith walk. We want you to be comfortable here. We want you to feel like you belong long before you believe. And so here, our mission is to lead people into a growing relationship with Jesus. It doesn't mean that we're going to be the perfection of what that looks like. We just all have our ways of walking this broken road and being able to tell people, listen, I don't have the answers, and if you keep looking at me long enough, I'm going to fail you. But if you'll hang out with us, maybe over time, your beliefs will start to change, and you'll start to see things a little bit differently. And so that's how we do things around here. Like I said, we're just one beggar showing other beggars where to find the bread. We don't make the bread. We have no business doing any of that stuff. Jesus is everything. He is the beginning, the end, the author of our salvation, the perfecter of our faith. And I hope that as you come and continue to visit and hopefully make this place your church home, that you will see that that's what this is all about. It's always and totally and forever about Jesus, about what he's done for us. This year, we're focusing on that growing relationship. In this room, we're going to focus on growing in a deeper relationship with our Heavenly Father. And if you are in a group or if you're serving, then that part of that is growing deeper relationship with one another. And I'm telling you, that's a whole nother level of faith that opens up when you start doing that stuff. So that's a little bit about us in case you're curious if it's your first time or second time. And you're like, what is this place? Doesn't even really feel like a church. It is a church, and you're not here on accident. I believe that if it's your first time here today or second time here today, I believe that God moved heaven and earth to get you right here in this seat for this particular Sunday, for whatever reason. That's what he does. So we're going to begin today. What we typically do is we start with some worship. So we're going to sing 3 songs, and we're going to just pour our hearts out to him if that's where you're at. And then we're going to transition and hear a message, and then that's it. It'll last about an hour. There'll be some challenging things along the way, but just be open to what Jesus would have you do. So get up on your feet. We're going to start by singing a song called Sea of Victory. Yeah. Now, I don't know about you, but I need a victory. I mean, and sometimes you need a big one, sometimes you need a small one, but every victory matters, every victory counts, and every victory comes from the Lord of victories. And so let's sing to our great God and Lord, Jesus Christ.
But it won't prosper. When the darkness falls, it won't prevail. 'Cause the God I serve knows only how to triumph. My God will never fail. Yeah. Oh, my God will never fail. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. There's power in the mighty name of Jesus. Every war he wages, he will win. And I'm not backing down from any giant. I know how this story ends. Oh yes, I know how this story ends. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you. that again. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Oh, I'm gonna worship my way through the trials, God. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for God. Amen. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for God. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. I'm right in the middle of this in my life now. You take what the enemy meant for evil. Oh, you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Let's sing it again. You take, come on. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. Yeah. You turn it for good. Oh, you take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Let's sing that again. I'm gonna see a victory. Yeah. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. You take, come on, you take. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Oh, you take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You turn it for good. Oh, he's gonna work it out.
Amen. Well, if you didn't hear the lyrics, it said, you take what the enemy meant for good, and you can take what the enemy meant for evil. I didn't hear the lyrics. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turned it for good.
Yes.
Okay, so we hear that. But you may be going, I don't believe that. I mean, how's God going to use everything going on in my life for good? Well, it's funny you say that because the next song is actually called Believe For It. And, there's a section actually as we go into the song where I'm going to ask you to sing a few times. I'm going to ask you to sing these words. You said it, and I believe it. You said it, and it is done. Even though we can't necessarily always see the good, God's still going to work it out for good because God's in control, not us. So even in those difficult situations where we struggle, just like this song says, I want you to believe for it that God is in control and will turn it around for good. So if you know this song, please sing it with me. Believe for it.
They say this mountain can't be moved. They say these chains will never break. But see a miracle. God, we believe.
Let's sing that chorus again. Move the immovable.
Move the immovable. Break the unbreakable. God, we believe. Yes, we do. God, we believe for it. From the impossible, we'll see a miracle. God, we believe. God, we believe for it. And this is that part I was telling you about, where even in the middle of the struggle, we're going to sing, you said it, and I believe. You said it, and it is done. We're going to sing it 4 times. Sing it out to God, even in the middle of everything going on. Praise Him. You said it, and I believe. You said it, and it is done. You said it, and I believe. You said it, it is
Let's all sing it together. You said.
done. You said it, I believe. You said it is done. You said I believe. You said it is done. Move the immovable, break the unbreakable. God, we believe. God, we believe for it. From the impossible, we'll see a miracle. God, we believe. God, we believe for it. God, we believe for it.
Amen. Guys, so does anybody ever have a week that or a day that just don't go as planned? Anybody out there?
Fair day.
So I'm just going to share something with you because, man, this morning, I guess, or late last night, I almost like text Laddie and was like, Laddie, I can't go to church, man. Let me share this with you. So I'm a blessed guy. Be the first one to tell you, man, I'm blessed. Beautiful wife, beautiful church family. But sometimes things just don't go the way, yeah, great man, thank you. Amen. They put up with me, y'all, so much. Like John, he was like, I'm just done. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, I won't let you leave, John. I don't want to share specifics, okay? But man, last night I ran into something, not physically, but how can I say this? Something happened and it hurt me. You know what I mean? On the inside. I was disappointed. Somebody that I love is heading down a little path, you know, that I've been down, but I don't want to see this person go down there. And anyhow, it all kind of came up and came out at about 2 o'clock this morning, and there I am kind of dealing with that, and man, my heart is hurting, you know, and in the middle of all of this, right, because that's the main thing, right, there's a situation that now I don't even know how to deal with it, you know, except just give it to God. But what does that even mean, right? That's a church answer. What does that mean, give it to God? This is all I can tell you is constantly, even during the service last night, and I'm sure for the days ahead, I'm going to have to keep giving this thing to God and saying, God, you said it, and I believe it, right? We just said that, but you said you'll work it all out for my good. I don't know how he's going to manipulate this situation to turn it out for my good or other people's good, but I honestly believe that he will. I honestly believe that he will. Because it's no sweat off of my Savior's back to do a miracle
right now in your life and in mine at the same time. Our God is so powerful. He's so knowledgeable. He loves us so much. He's so big. And he's done some crazy things, man. He's brought people back to life. He's made the blind people see, the lame to walk. He's walked on water. Listen, he's made the wind just shut up and it listened. He's an amazing God. And I need him to do something amazing in this situation. This song has been one that my wife's been trying to get me to sing for, I don't know, 8 months probably. It's called Famous For. And listen, man, my God is famous for all kinds of things. He's strong and powerful. And what we need to do is call on that power in our lives. Hey, God, have your way with me. Have your way with me and my spouse, with my kids. Show me how to be a better dad, a better mom, whatever it is. He can take your situation and turn it into something that you can't even imagine. And listen, I know that, but I'm in the situation right now. I need y'all to pray for me to be strong, right? And to do what I'm supposed to do instead of acting out in anger or hurt. I don't know about this, but anybody ever done something they shouldn't have because you was angry or upset? I do it all the time. If y'all know it, sing it with me, right? If not, just listen to these words. And wherever God needs to be in your life, tell him to come in and wreck your world, break you down, and build you right back up where he would have you to be. That's what I'm going to do. This song is called Famous For.
There is no fear, 'cause I believe. There is no doubt, 'cause I have seen your faithfulness, my fortress, over and over. Yeah.
I have a hope found in your name. I have a strength found in your grace, your faithfulness, my fortress, over and over.
Make way through the waters, walk me through the fire. Do what you are famous for, what you are famous for. Shut the mouths of lions, bring dry bones to life, and do what you are famous for, what you are famous for.
I believe in you.
God, I believe in you. Release your love inside of me. Unleash your power for all to see. Spirit, come and fall on us over and over. Oh Lord, make way through the water, walk me through the fire. Do what you are famous for, what you are famous for. Shut the mouths of lions, bring dry bones to life, and do what you are famous for, what you are famous for. God of exceedingly, God of abundantly, more than we ask or think. Lord, you will never fail. Your name is powerful, your word's unstoppable. All things are possible in you. God of exceedingly, God of abundantly, more than we ask or think. Lord, you will never fail. Your name is powerful, your word's unstoppable. All things are possible in you. Make way through the water. 'cause I believe. There is no doubt, 'cause I have seen
your faithfulness, my fortress, over and over.
Amen. Y'all go ahead and be seated, guys, while we say this prayer. Father God, we are so thankful, Lord, for your faithfulness and how you just see us through every trial and every struggle, Lord, that we can just lean into you, God, that you will do all those things that you were famous for, not only in other people's lives, but in ours, Father. We say thank you, Lord, and we're just going to give you all the praise and all the honor and all the glory, God. In your most precious and holy name, amen.
Before we get into the message for today, just had a couple of quick announcements. As you can see, we got some progress going on out in the parking lot, so thank you for excusing our progress, as they say. We're trying to get the thing where it drains. It hasn't drained in 8 years. I think we finally got it figured out, and so maybe we'll be able to not have water sitting out there where you have to swim to church. So we're pretty thankful for that. The second thing I want to talk about is giving. Like, okay, we got to fix the parking lot. So anyway, see how I did that? See how anyway. So if you're watching online, thank you for watching online. In the comments section, there's a click where you can click to give. If you're in the room, we put boxes at the back. If y'all notice, if you come and you're like, they don't even pass an offering plate. You're right, we don't. And so if you want to give, you can give in the box on your way out, or you can go online to withbainbridge.org and give there. And we would love for you to do that. So thank you. All right. So as we jump into this, we're going to be in Romans chapter 2. Hope you have your binder. We're going to keep making those available for you, so that you can keep getting them and putting in the new sheet and just keeping up if that's your thing, if you'd like to. Because this hour, what we're doing here at this time, this 35 minutes I think I have, is all about growing deeper in relationship with God. And we do that by looking and studying His Word. And so we're going to be looking at some pretty difficult passages. If you were here last week, then I'm glad you came back, really, to be honest with you. I mean, look, you're here, so that's great. This week is also going to be challenging. Today's going to be challenging, and so we're going to just dive right in. Before we do, I got to introduce you to what we're talking about. Paul, as I said last week, he's kind of putting us all on the stand, as it were, and showing all of us how we all fall short. Every single one of us are basically what Paul would say, we're black-hearted, wretched sinners, and we kind of really dug that out last week. You probably walked away not feeling great, but hopefully we ended on a high note. Well, what happens, what you do and what I do, is whenever someone does that, right, throws out those accusations, those sins, those things that you know that you do, but you don't want to admit that you do, and you even spend a lot of your time hiding it from everyone else to make sure no one knows that you do it. Whenever someone does finally point it out to you, what's your knee-jerk reaction? Yeah, but you, or let me tell you about her. Let me tell you about him. Let me make sure that you understand that I'm not as bad as you think I am by pointing out someone else and their sins and making sure that they know that I'm judging them and all of that. And so that's our knee-jerk reaction, which means Paul's going to already address that right here. He knows what we're going to do when we hear that long list, the long list that I'll go ahead and read to you again in case you forgot. Every one of us, full of wickedness, greed, full of evil, envy, murder, strife, deceit, malice. We are gossips, slanderers, haters of God, insolent, arrogant, boastful. We're so evil, we invent new ways to do it, okay? Inventors of evil, disobedient to parents, without understanding, untrustworthy, unfeeling, unmerciful. And then we go, well, hold up. And then he's like, I'm not done. And so today is the I'm not done part. Before you go trying to justify your sins and actions, let me go ahead and address it ahead of time. So that's what we're going to get to. Before we do, I got to talk to you about this book. There's a book called Unchristian. If you haven't read it, you should. It's an interesting book written by a group of people called the Barna Group. And the Barna Group is a group of people who look at and statistically analyze the effects of Christianity on culture and like seeing if we're making a difference and how we're making a difference, if at all. And it's just a great group of people who just kind of study church and what it does and what it's not doing and all those things. Well, they wrote a book called thank you. It wrote a book called Unchristian. The subtext is what a new generation really thinks about Christianity. What a new generation really thinks about Christianity. And so they asked a bunch of people, hey, talk about Christians. What do you think? Or whatever. And as they were interviewing, they noticed the same things coming up over and over and over again about how people think about Christians. And they put it together in kind of one concise statement. Now, I want to ask you, before I show you what they came up with, in fact, the question is, what do people think about when they hear the word Christian and they're thinking about you? Okay, so they think, okay, my friend is a Christian. What do I think about when I think about her or him as a Christian? We want people to think loving, caring, gracious, forgiving, kind, generous, going to take care of you, provide, maybe even might use words like love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. But that's not reality, is it? I mean, I don't think people think of that list when they think of me. So I'm going to show you what people, what they say, people who aren't believers, when they think about and talk about Christians. This is the kind of the description that they came up with. That a Christian is very conservative, entrenched in their thinking, anti-gay, anti-choice, angry, violent, illogical, empire builders. They want to convert everyone, and they generally cannot live peacefully with anyone who does not believe what they believe. In the book, they came to this understanding that functionally there is no difference between a Christian and non-Christian people. Functionally, there's no difference. They looked at their life over the past 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years as a Christian and compared it to people who were non-believers and said, functionally, there's not much of a difference. That, to be specific, a Christian is just as likely to gamble, to steal, to visit pornographic sites, to visit mediums and psychics, to get into a physical altercation with somebody, to get legally drunk on a regular basis, to abuse prescription drugs, to lie, to retaliate, to slander. Basically, there's no difference between Christians and non-Christians. The only 5 things they found that is different from a Christian and a non-Christian are these monumental things. There's more Bibles in their house. They don't cuss as much in public. They give more money, probably because of people like me. They recycle less, and they bought less lottery tickets. That's it. Basically, if an alien race were to watch you and watch me and compare people who say they believe in Jesus and people who don't, that's what they would come up with. That's it. So, the reason the world says that we are hypocrites is because we have thoroughly earned it. First one, I'm a hypocrite, hands down. There's no way I can stand up here and do what I do and say what I say without fully recognizing and looking every one of you in the face and say, I don't live up to every word in this book. I want to. My heart is to, but I don't. So if you're the kind of person who's like, Christians are hypocrites, you're exactly right. We all are. A Christian who doesn't admit to being a hypocrite has some further investigation to do into their life. So this is kind of what Paul's going to be talking about. Judgmentalism and hypocrisy in our hearts. Because when someone calls us out, our knee-jerk reaction is to say, but they. Look at them, don't look at me. So let's go ahead and jump in. Romans chapter 2, verse 1. Here we go, new chapter. It gets worse before it gets better. Therefore, you have no excuse. And remember last week it was all they. They and them and they. And now he's like, no. I know you thought I was talking about somebody else. I'm not. I'm actually talking about you. So picture you're sitting across the coffee table. Paul's there. He's looking you dead in the eye. Therefore therefore me, therefore we have no excuse. Every single one of us, he says, every one of you who passes judgment. He's going to be speaking to those people who think they've got it all figured out. been a Christian for a little while. You think you have got this thing working. The problem is we all run into this moment where we start judging others. You know, here's what judging, in case you don't know. Judging is magnifying the sins of others while diminishing our own. Magnifying the sins of other people while diminishing our own. Really, it's keeping God on a leash. It's saying, God, you stay, just stay right there for a minute. Just stay right there for a minute. Hey, you need to be, and in your ear, God, I didn't tell you to talk yet. But you need to be, and you see, like when you visualize that, it's ludicrous. But whenever we're willing to look at another person's life and judge their actions, we are magnifying theirs while completely ignoring or at least diminishing our own. Here's another way to put judging. Judging is sizing someone up and writing them off. Sizing someone up and writing. You ever been sized up and wrote off by somebody? I mean, it's not a very positive feeling. Kind of hurts a little bit. But that's what we do. That's what judging is. Sizing someone up and writing them off. And you know, I think there's two primary reasons why we judge. Number one, I think we're jealous. I think we're jealous because we look at them and we see that they are getting away with things. We're like, man, sin is fun, and they're having a lot of fun with it, but God's not doing anything to them. I mean, there's no punishment. I'm over here. I'm going to church. I'm bringing my kids to church. I'm making sure we're going to bed early on Saturday to get here on Sunday. I'm giving my tithe. I'm even here extra early, and I'm serving. But for some reason, it looks like I'm living a half life, and they're out there having all the fun, and I'm a little bit jealous. So you know what? I'm going to tell you exactly what I think of those people out there. I think there's a little bit of jealousy. You know, some of that kind of rears its ugly head, and you might bump into those Christians that, like, they're a little too happy that there's a hell. You ever ran into them? Like, I mean, they're like, man, I hope there's a hell because, man, she's going to be right there, I promise. I mean, she needs to be front and center. I mean, and whenever you bump into a Christian who's happy that there's a hell, something in you should go, all right, something's wrong. Like no one should be happy that there's a place like that for anybody. A little bit of jealousy. Because, man, they better get it. Because look at what I'm doing, man. I'm trying. And they deserve to get it. Jealousy, I think, is one reason. Another reason is self-righteousness. Now, self-righteousness is a little bit more difficult to talk about because you can't really see it in the mirror. It's something that someone has to bring up to you because self-righteous people aren't very self-aware. They don't really consider themselves into the equation. When they're talking to other people, considering other people's feelings, they don't even think about, well, what does that person think about when they think about me? They really could care less. A self-righteous person just decides to, judge someone and pick on somebody and talk about what kind of person that they are. They love to dumb down God's holiness and elevate their own. Dumb down God's holiness and elevate their own. And is there anything more arrogant? I mean, it's ridiculous. But we do it. I do it. We all do it to some degree. We feel a little ignorant and arrogant and self-righteous and treat other people that way. But we don't want to be judged. Nobody wants to be judged. So let's finish up that verse 1. Therefore, you have no excuse, every one of you who passes judgment. For in that which you judge another, you condemn yourself. For you who judge, practice the same things. Basically, what he's saying here is, judge unto others as you would have others judge unto you. That when you judge, when you make an assessment, when you criticize or compare someone else to yourself or anyone else, you're judging them. And you read Jesus' words on this in Matthew, and he's like, listen, don't judge. But if you are going to judge, you need to talk about yes, okay, everyone has a piece of sawdust in their eye. He acknowledges that everyone has, a speck of sawdust in their eye. But he's like, listen, you need to talk about that plank in your own eye first before we ever get to that point. So there's this idea of judging unto others as you would have them judge unto you. So then, as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, well, how do I want to be judged? Like, if people are going to judge anyway, if I'm going to judge, and based on how I judge you, I'm going to be judged based on that, how do I want to be judged? If I'm supposed to judge unto others the way I want to be judged, how do I want to be judged? I don't want to be judged at all. I want to be judged not. How about you? Like, I don't want to be judged. But if you are going to judge me, then I want you to take a couple of things into consideration. I want you to judge me based on where I grew up. I want you to judge me based on the fact that I grew up in South Florida amongst gangs and had to find a way to fit in. I want you to judge me based on the fact that I had for many, many years of my childhood acute cystic acne, which took over my life, and I was made fun of in school for 7 years by teachers and students. I want you to take that into consideration and how that affected my self-esteem. And I also want you to take into consideration that I was abused for years. And I want you to think about that when you think about the sins that I struggle with. So before you go judging me, make sure you take into consideration all of my history, all of my past, all the stuff that I've been through. Take into consideration my mom and my dad, my brother, my sister, where I grew up, the changes, the moves that we made, and everyone that hurt me and everyone that I've hurt. Before you judge me, take all that into consideration. Don't you want to be judged like that? Don't just throw that on me. Hold on a minute. Let me tell you my story, and let me tell you what happens. When someone tells you their story, that judgment kind of disappears a little bit. You're like, okay, I understand now. I am sorry I ever even thought of you that way. Now that I know what happened to you, what you went through, and what kind of stuff happened in your life, and just the fact that you are the person you are is amazing. But that's not what we do. It's not fun. It's not as fun to get to know somebody before we start laying stuff down on them. We just want to make sure they feel about that big because it makes us feel amazing. Judging and hypocrisy is basically what this turns into. Romans chapter 2, verse 2. There's only 5 verses we're covering today. We're only going to get to verse 5. And we know, Paul says, that the judgment of God rightly falls upon those who practice such things. We know there is a judgment. We know it's just. So we need to be very careful before we go laying down judgment and hypocrisy, judging another person when we're doing the exact same things. Y'all know what a hypocrite is. This isn't new words, right? Hypocrite is someone who says one thing and does another. It's an actor. Jesus tells the story about these 2 men who go to pray. And one of them is a Pharisee, and the other one is a tax collector. And the Pharisee goes, and he's going to pray, and he prays, loud, and he's like, God, thank you that I fast twice a week, and I get to give you my tithe. Thank you for who you are to me and how awesome I am. And thank you that I'm not like this tax collector over here. And the tax collector prays, Father, forgive me. He beats his chest, Jesus says. He beats his chest. Forgive me because I'm a sinner. And Jesus says that man's the one who walked away and went home justified. Because the other one's just a judgmental hypocrite. Jesus is not a fan of hypocrisy, in case you didn't know that. In Matthew chapter 23, I want to read to you these first 4 verses of this chapter, and then I'm going to put the others up on the screen. But this is Jesus talking about this idea. He says, Then Jesus spoke to the crowds. This is Matthew 23, verse 1, if you just want to jot this down. Then Jesus spoke to the crowds and to the disciples, saying, The scribes and the Pharisees, which are the religious folks who thought they had it all figured out, the scribes and the Pharisees have seated themselves on the chair of Moses. That's the judgment seat. Therefore, all that they tell you, do and observe, because they do know what they're talking about. But do not according to their own deeds. Don't do what they do. For they say things and they don't do them. They tie up heavy burdens and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves are unwilling to move them with so much as a finger. Then he goes on to give the 8 woes, or the 8 curses. If you read the beginning of Matthew, he gives the 8 blessings. Blessed are the meek, right? Blessed are the poor. But then in Matthew 23, he gives the 8 curses. I'm just going to read to you a couple of them. I'll put them up on the screen for you. This is in Matthew 23, beginning in verse 25. He says, Woe to you, that's like, cursed are you, or watch out because something's going to happen to you. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. And this is actually, like the way it's written in the Greek, he's yelling here. Like, I don't know about yelling angry, but he is very loud at this point. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you clean the outside of the cup of the dish, but inside they are full of robbery and self-indulgence. You blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup and of the dish, so that the outside of it may become clean also. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which on the outside appear beautiful, but inside they are full of dead man's bones and all uncleanliness. So you too outwardly appear righteous to men, but inwardly you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Jesus says, you want to be a hypocrite and judge other people? It may look real pretty on the outside, but there's nothing but rot and decay on the inside. Useless for anything living. So he's pretty firm about this concept of judging and being a hypocrite to others. So we should take it seriously. Going back to Romans, verse 3. But do you suppose this, O man, when you pass judgment, let me do that one more time. But do you suppose this, O everybody? I don't want to. No? Okay, all right. But do you suppose this, oh man, when you pass judgment on those who practice such things and do the same thing yourself, that you will escape the judgment of God? Do you think that you can escape the judgment of God the same way you escape the judgment of everybody else? Because you're so good at it, like me. Somebody passes judgment on you, what do you do? Hold on a minute. Let me tell you why I did that. And then you tell, oh, okay, well, I understand. Sure, I probably would have done that too if I were in your shoes. You have escaped my judgment. You've talked your way out of it with me. You can't talk your way out of it with God. You're not going to be able to escape the judgment of hypocrisy, the judgment that comes when you judge others. It's not possible. But we think we can. We think we can smooth talk our way out of things. In fact, I mean, if we're really honest, we probably all believe in like red light sins and yellow light sins and green light sins. Like the red light sins that like, oh my gosh, they need to make a law against that sin. No one should ever do that sin. And we kind of have those in our head or whatever. Then you got the yellow light sins that are like, probably not. Probably should keep an eye on that. Make sure people don't do that. Then there's the green light sins where we're just like, I don't even think God cares about that anymore. We just do it. And like, really not that big of a deal. And we just decide and categorize which sins are okay and which ones aren't. You think you can escape the one who is holy? No, we can't. None of us can. We're all going to face him and look him in the eye and unfortunately have to be held accountable for every judgmental and hypocritical thing we've ever said or done, unless there's someone standing in your way to take that wrath for you. So let me say it this way, because this is really kind of a thing to ask yourself if you're judgmental. So let's see if anyone falls under this category. Are you more enraged by the sin of others, than you mourn your own? Are you more enraged by the sin of other people? Just think about that one. You know that one that gets you fired up? The one that you think you've got all figured out because granddaddy told you that this is a sin and that the Bible says it. And so you just get so fired up about it, even though you've heard a couple of times from a couple of different people that's not even in there. But because it's so deep-seated in your heart and because someone you respected told you, you're going to believe it come hell or high water. That sin that just, it stirs that anger in you and that passion. You're like, man, let me tell you, I know who's going to hell. You got that thing all figured out. Whatever that is for you, are you more enraged by that than you mourn your own sin? So when Jesus talks about the sawdust in someone's eye and the plank in yours, he's like, listen, yes, there is. I'm acknowledging the fact everyone's got sawdust in their eye. But you need to focus on the plank. And then he says, go take out the plank out of your eye, and then you will see clearly to go work on the sawdust in someone else's. You know what I think he's saying? He's saying, until you spend enough time thinking about how wretched and disgusting and pitiful and broken and deserving of hell you are, you got no business talking to another human being about their faults, failures, or sins. And until you think about how that sin's affecting that person and it breaks your heart to the point where you're weeping over that in their life, don't you dare go talk to them, because you're not ready. Because you'll go talk to them with a judgmental, holier than thou, I got this figured out and you don't attitude. And that's hypocrisy and judgmentalism in its finest. Don't you go using this as a pair of binoculars to view someone else's life when you ain't even thought about your own. I mean, unless you just want to keep the same mindset, keep everybody thinking that Christians are what we described at the very beginning, something we were never intended to be. This is pretty serious stuff. And when we see this clearly and rightly, we can see ourselves clearly and rightly. And then when we go to somebody who is actually in pain and they're suffering and carrying a burden that they can't bear and it's a sin in their life and they know it, you can go to them and say, listen, I love you. I'm not judging you. Can I carry some of that weight for you? I fully accept you for who you are. I love you. I want to help you. Not look down on you, but I want to get right beside you and carry this for you. Are you more enraged by someone else's sin than you do mourn your own? It's a good way to know if we're in the wrong place. Here's another thing we should probably think about. John 3:17. John 3:16 is amazing, but we rush by or forget this one. For God did not send his son into the world to judge the world. The one person who can. The one person who had every right to judge. The one person who, when they threw the prostitute at the feet of Jesus, he's the only one in the circle that didn't have a rock. And he's the only one in the circle who could throw it. He didn't come to judge us. He came to save us. What are we doing? Do we think we're better than Jesus? Well, I got this to back it up. This isn't for you to be backed up by. This is to show you how messed up you are, not how messed up someone else is. That's what this is for. All right. Back to Romans 2:4. Or, now this is packed full. And so we're going to go through this, y'all. There's a lot in this one verse. Or do you think lightly of the riches of his kindness and tolerance and patience, not knowing that it's the kindness of God that leads you to repentance? This very first part. Do you think lightly of his riches and kindness? Does it not bother you? Like you kind of go about life and you're like, you know what? He really doesn't seem to be bothered by that sin in my life. And so I'm just going to keep doing it. Not a big deal, seems like. If you think God's kindness is an excuse to sin, you have not experienced his grace. I think two things happen when someone gets saved. I think you have an immediate affection and love for God, and you have an immediate hatred for sin. Now, to the degree it differs, okay? But I think that those two things kind of stick out right at the front. As soon as you're a new creation, you start to see God for who he is, and you start to see you for who you are. And it begins to change things. But if you haven't really, been hit by this, you can think that his kindness is actually an excuse to sin. And in that situation, you have to ask yourself, have I really experienced this grace? Or let me say it this way. Do not confuse the patience of God with permission to sin. You see, when you come into contact with his grace, everything changes. It would be kind of the same way if we had a meeting, like, hey, meet me at, the Bean Cafe at, 12:30, and you show up at 12:45, 15 minutes late, and I've been waiting on you. And you come in, pressed, hair is perfect, everything's just right. And then I say, hey, well, what's up? How come you're late? And you're like, I got hit by a Mack truck on the way here. And I'd be like, you a lie. Like, no, you didn't. Because when you get hit by a Mack truck, your hair's going to be disheveled a little bit. Your shirt's going to be, torn. You might have a broke limb that you're dragging as you're walking in. There will be a difference if you've been hit by a Mack truck. And when God's grace smacks you, there will be a difference in the way you walk. When his grace runs you over like a Mack truck, it will change you. And if it isn't, maybe you're abusing his grace. Going back, let's look at more of this verse. Do you think lightly of the riches of his kindness and tolerance and patience? Do you know he's tolerant and patient towards you? You know what that means? This is what that means. This means that God is putting up with you. What's that mean? He's putting up with you for a little while. Because you should be dead. And I should be dead. Y'all finish this verse for me. For the wages of sin is death. How many times should you have died? By now. How many times should I have died by now? Every single time you sin and you don't die, that's his grace. That's his patience. That's his tolerance. That's to me, I'm picturing the angels up in heaven watching us. And they're worshiping God, and it's what they do. And I don't even know if they have much of a choice anymore. At one point they must have, because you got fallen angels and regular angels. But they're up there watching us, and they're watching us do whatever the hee-haw we want down here. Act like donkeys. Like look God in the face and say, I don't even care who you are, what you've done. I'm going to do this any daggone way because I want to do it. And it feels good to me. And watch me. And I don't care about her. Do you know what she did to me? I'm going to make her feel like trash because she deserves it. And the angels in heaven are going, what are you doing? Like, just wipe them all out again. And God's going, nope, I'm throwing more grace. I'm throwing more grace. Hold on, but did you? Yes, I saw what she did. Here's more grace. You want to know why? Because when they see me face to face, and they realize everything, all my tolerance and all my patience, they're going to love me all the more. They're going to see how great a God I am. Because anybody can slaughter people. But I love people. And I'm showing them patience and tolerance every time. Here's another part of the verse. Or do you think lightly of the riches of his kindness and tolerance and patience, not knowing that the kindness of God is what leads you to repentance? What about this question? Why do you use meanness and judgmentalism if God uses kindness? Why do preachers get up and make sure that they make sure everybody in the room feels the weight of their sin while they are holy and you should be like me and, look at all the amazing things that I've done. But you sinner, you, O fallen of God, you need to make sure you know that he is coming after you and you will spend eternity in fire and damnation. Like, who thinks they have the right to ever say things like that? That's ridiculous. But we do it all the time to each other. Meanness and judgmentalism and thinking that that's going to help somebody. Would it help you? You know what helps me? When someone looks me in the eye and says, I know how messed up you are. In fact, I'm kind of messed up too. In fact, I'm maybe even more messed up than you. And I don't know how to fix it. But let me introduce you to the guy who fixed me. And I'm going to walk with you every step of the way. I'll never look at you in a judgmental way because I know who I am and I know what he's done for me. Romans 2:4, finishing this verse up. Do you think lightly of the riches of his kindness and tolerance and patience, not knowing that the kindness of God leads you to repentance? And you know what happens when we use our judgmentalism and meanness? It's because we forgot. It's because we forgot where we were and how we got to where we are. So I'm just going to show you a few verses to remind you where you were and what got you to where you are in your relationship with God. Spoiler alert, nothing to do with you. Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 1. And you were dead in your trespasses and sins. Everybody in this room, dead in your trespasses and sins. For some reason, we like to talk about when we're lost as if we're flailing about at sea. And we're like barely making it. And then a boat comes by and Jesus is the boat. And he scoops us up out of the water. And then, we're saved. That is not what the Bible teaches about being saved. You are not struggling in life, trying to work your way to God. You are dead at the bottom of the ocean. Can't do a thing to earn anything, and he scoops you out of all of that garbage and breathes into you his breath and creates a brand new creation. That's salvation. You were dead in your trespasses and sins, in which you formerly walked, according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, of the spirit that is now working in the sons of disobedience. Among them we too all formerly lived in the lust of our flesh, indulging in the desires of our flesh and of the mind, and were by nature children of wrath, even as the rest. But God. Y'all, there's a lot of big buts in the Bible. You should just do a study on that. I like big buts, and I cannot lie. The big buts that are in here, this is a big but. Because this is like, you were this, but God, being rich in mercy because of his great love with which he loved us. So what did you do in there? Nothing. It's his mercy. And you know what that word rich means? More than enough. Just keeps throwing it out. How much mercy? I got infinite amount of mercy. And you're going to see it in my tolerance and in my patience. Every time you mess up, I'm just heaving more and more mercy and grace. Because of his great love, not your great love. Are you kidding me? You don't even know what love is until he tells you what it is. Until he shows you what true love looks like. Then he goes on, finishes up right here. Even when we were dead in our transgressions, he made us alive together with Christ. By grace you have been saved. By grace you have been saved. Not by works. Not by giving enough. Not by serving enough. Not by attending enough. But by his grace. And when we forget this, that's when we start throwing out judgment. That's when we start condemning others. That's when the hypocrisy rears its ugly head. Because we forgot where we came from. We keep this at front and center, and it can help us keep our mind and our head right about this. Last verse in Romans. Here we go. But because of your stubbornness, this is Paul throwing out that last thing. See, make sure everybody gets it. Because of your stubbornness and unrepentant heart, you are storing up wrath for yourself in the day of wrath and revelation of the righteous judgment of God. Because of your stubbornness and unrepentant heart. You know what that unrepentant is? Basically means the I don't care attitude. It's those people who know, like you know what you should be doing, know who Jesus is, know what God has done, blah, blah. But you're just deciding, I don't really care. I don't really care. And your whole life, you're storing up wrath. Your whole life, you're building up wrath, building up wrath, building up wrath. And then one day when you decide that Jesus, everything he did for you, you are allowing God to pour all of that wrath that was stored up for you, and it was poured out on his son 2,000 years ago. It's an amazing concept. But if you don't choose Jesus, then you've got a warehouse, 3 warehouses, 10 warehouses stored up of all the wrath. And it's, according to this, it's coming. There's nothing you can do about it. Except hand it over to the one who can bear your wrath. The one who can take the place of that for you. Life is not a game without consequences. We have offended a holy God, and his wrath is as sure as his grace. We can't ignore the fact. Even though we don't talk about it, we don't sing about God's wrath. It makes it still very real. So, what happens if we do this right? What happens if we figure this out? What happens if we spend enough time in the book of Romans? What happens if we keep coming and you keep opening the binder and you keep filling in the blanks, and maybe even you go home, maybe even pray about this, maybe even go to small group and you start answering those questions that are on the back of that page, that really kind of digs into your heart and gets in there. What happens if we keep doing this? I think we might change. I think people might actually, when they're asked who a Christian is, they might say something a little bit different. If nowhere else, it should start right here. If nowhere else, it should start right here. And then hopefully, maybe as we continue to grow deeper in relationship with God, it changes all of us. Because here's what I want. I want people to come here and I want them to experience you. I want them to hang out with you. I want them to hang out with me. And I want them to say this. Well, they don't judge me. They love me in the middle of my mess and sin. And they give me room to work out my salvation while guiding me toward Christ-likeness. Isn't that what you want? That's what I want. Man, give me room. I've still got sin I'm working on. Just give me a little bit of room. I'm working on it. I want to. Some of the things, it's like, God, I can't stop, but I want to stop. You ever been there before? Like, I can't, but I want to. And maybe that's where you're at. Like, I can't. I'm working on it, but I want to. And you need someone there beside you that's like, listen, I'm with you. I'm praying for you. I'm going to carry you as you go through this because I know you want to. This is what should be described as us. No judgment. It's going to love in the middle of the mess and sin and give people room to work out their salvation while guiding towards Christ-likeness. I wrote down something even simpler than that. What if people were to look at you and me and they were to say, they care more about who I am than what I'm doing? That's what I want. For me, that's how I want you to look at me. I want you to care more about who I am as a person. I want you to care more about who I am as a father, as a husband, as a pastor, more than about what I'm doing. And if something does come up or there's something we need to work on, that you'll come to me and say, hey, how can I help? How can I love you? How can we come together and get through this together? That's what Christianity is supposed to look like. Maybe it starts right here. Maybe it starts with you and me, and maybe we can change this whole thing around. If we'll listen to Paul, we'll quit worrying about the speck of sawdust in somebody else's eye and start worrying about the plank in our own. And then we're going to see that other person. When we finally work on that enough, we'll see with clarity to not judge, but to love them through. And to give them room to work out their salvation. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for who you are and what you've done for us. Thank you for this grace that there is no way in the world I've ever done anything to deserve anything that you have given to me. So, Father, I pray that we will see ourselves rightly and then, in turn, be able to see others the same way you see them, with love and affection, knowing that if we're honest with ourselves, we've got no business talking about anyone else. But we can walk with them and love them through whatever it is they're struggling with. So, Father, thank you for this word. We ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much, Laddie. That's such a great word. And I just want to say real quick that this has been, I think we're week 4 into this series about just Romans and learning just so much about the gospel, what that means for our lives, and how to live that out, how to share that with others, what that means, again, for us. And it's just been a great way to really start this year out of just, what we wanted to do is grow deeper and growing deeper together. And I do want to just say that, another way of doing so, of stepping in and growing deeper with the gospel, with sharing our faith with others, all of that, is to volunteer with us and to jump on board on some of our awesome serve teams that we have. So last Sunday, I know that Laddie came up and talked about some of the specific needs that we need for some of our environments. A couple of people, many of y'all are already serving. To you guys, thank you so much. Y'all are so appreciated, and we couldn't be here for our community. We couldn't be sharing that faith, sharing that gospel without you guys. Some of you guys stepped up last week, and that's awesome. As you can see, we have some numbers crossed out and kind of updated in these different environments. But as you can also see, we still need a few people to get plugged in and to join these teams. So over here, over in Wumbaland, that's our preschool environment. So as you see, we needed 3. Someone stepped up. Thank you so much. But we still need a couple of people. We're really trying to get some rooms open and available for some of our younger kiddos. Specifically, we still need ones for 2s, 3 to 5s, but we're kind of seeing a lot of young kiddos coming in, and that's exciting, and especially like a lot of these young babies. It's so much fun. I have a 10-month-old, so he's ready to get plugged into a classroom, and so we need some people to cover those rooms and to pour into these babies. And y'all, this message of the gospel, it starts at starts day one, really, but whenever, mamas are comfortable bringing their babies into the nurseries, we love just pouring into them, loving on them. While y'all are in here, we're growing deeper together, learning about God's Word, and so that's Wumbaland. As you can see, we need 2 more people in Wumbaland. Up Street, that's our K through 5th grade, so kind of like a wider range of ages there. But we still need 4 people in Wumbaland. We've got an awesome team of student impactors who are middle schoolers and high schoolers that do come and help and serve, and they are amazing. But with each of our small groups, each of our classrooms, we need an adult volunteer. So if you are, if you feel called in any way, if you just feel called to jump into a needed position, Upstreet is an awesome opportunity for that. So like I said, we need about 4. Upstreet is fun because there's something for everybody. I mean, there's small group leader opportunities. They do like a live large group where they learn about the Bible story either through like a live presentation, a fun live presentation, a fun skit sometimes. And so if you want to host for that, if you want to lead in some of these, again, fun live presentations of the Bible story, that's an opportunity too. If you want to lead worship for that environment, that's an opportunity too. So come talk to me about that. And then finally, Hangout. So again, we had someone come up, but we do need 1 more adult. What Hangout is, this is actually unique because if you serve in the Hangout, you can actually still attend the 11 o'clock service because this is a service opportunity for the 9:15. So typically our volunteers will come to the 9:15 service, get poured into before going to serve in the 11, and their kids will go and hang out. They'll watch videos, play games, do activities, whatever. It is crazy, but it's fun in the Hangout, right, Nikki? Can I get an amen? And so we do need somebody else to help out with that as well. So if you'll have any questions about those 3 environments, come find me in the back. I will answer anything you need. Another thing, sorry, I know I'm going kind of long, but we are about to start a weekday volunteer team as well to pack the curriculum that our kids' environments use during the service. So it's a very intentional curriculum with kind of just step-by-step guides on, how to teach what they're learning that day, how to go about the activities, everything. And we've been getting a lot of those supplies from a church in Dothan called Wiregrass. Come April, we're actually going to start doing that on our own. So we're going to have to start packing all of those things together. And my hope for that is really to only meet like twice a month during the week on a Wednesday. Most likely we're still getting this together. So if any of y'all are available at different times, let me know and we can work with you on that. But if that's something that you have more questions about as well, again, come find me. And real quick, Chad's going to talk to you about some needs for students.
Thank you, Allison. Hey, really fast. So as you can see up there on students, I've got 1 female and 2 males that I'm needing. And actually right now, there's 2 men in here. I'm not going to point them all out. But they're going to test drive this thing and see if it works. Then I have, so I've already got my 2 males right now, praise God, from whom all blessings flow. And then I've also got my 1 female. So I should have went back and X'd those out. But I just wanted to leave them up there in case, God's been dealing with you. Because listen, if God's leading you to youth, come holla at me. We cool with that? All right. So anyhow, be praying for all of those environments. 2 things. 1, this past Wednesday, our youth was the best night I have ever been a part of here at Bainbridge Church. It probably, scared a few people or whatever, but the kids shared so much. I've never seen them connect like they did this past Wednesday, and they connected through pain. Man, they shared some stuff up there that would blow your mind, and just over and over. We had to take a break to kind of wipe our eyes and come back and start talking again. Never even got to the lesson. Never talked about summer camp because it was so good. Be praying for your youth, middle school and high schoolers, Wednesday night. 6:30 to 8:30 right here. Make sure you come, okay? Before we go, just one thing. I want to say one quick word of encouragement, I guess. What Laddie's talking about right now, he's not talking about one-on-one discipleship. He's not talking about having like one man, right? Your accountability partner, where you are bringing up sin and you're hashing each other's life, to better each other. That's not what he's talking about, right? We need to love people, man. Love people. I had somebody share with me. It was like, yeah, but and Laddie brought it up. We should call out people's sin, because that's what. The lady that she was cheating on her husband, and Jesus came up and Jesus said, hey, go and sin no more. But what they forget to tell you is that lady was caught red-handed, probably drugged naked in front of everybody, thrown down, and was about to be killed. She was about to die. And Jesus came in and said, hey, you throw the first stone. Can't nobody throw a stone at this lady. And then after he did that, he loved on her, saved her life. Then he said, now go and sin no more. You find somebody that's doing sin and just call them out straight up, please don't do that. Hey, love you guys. I'm telling you, buckle up this week. This whole year is going to be crazy. Get ready, okay? Be studied up and be back next week for part 5. Love you. Bye.